Well, EPCs and energy efficiency in rental properties have been a trending topic across property tribes over the last few months. So I'm delighted to be joined on this call by a specialist in this area, and it's James Tanner of James Tanner Properties. So welcome to Property Tribes, James.
Oh, well, hello, thank you very much.
Let's get started just to talk about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business. And I get the impression that you're very, very passionate about energy efficiency. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, I am. Yes, very much so. I've been a full-time professional landlord for 11 years, and we are developers of energy efficient homes. We've been teaching sustainability to kids, primary school kids, for 11 years. And I've been studying sustainability, and I'm still studying it after 11 years. I'm just about to qualify as a domestic energy assessor as well. Mm-hmm. And in our landlord family business, we have a building which is 5 studio flats where we provide communal heating and hot water, and we reduced our heating bills 50%. And we also bought a 100-year-old house, which had an EPC of F, and we did a retrofit on it, and it ended up at almost an A, 89 points, and the heating bills went from reduced from £2,500 to £900 a year. So that's sort of my background, and my wife and I are very passionate about sustainability on a personal level. We want to be working in sustainability and helping with sustainability for the rest of our lives, actually. We're quite concerned because the world is heating up and energy bills are rising and will continue to do so. Inflation's at 9%, we just announced the other day. And buildings are a major factor, not just in the UK, but worldwide, in sort of encouraging the world to heat up. So yeah, that's why we're so passionate about it.
Well, it's really good to hear you mention the word sustainability, because I don't think landlords consider this enough, and they need to, because it's really all about future-proofing their properties, as well as being kind to planet Earth as well. So we do actually have a very good interview on the topic of sustainability, which I will pop into this thread as well, because it's well worth watching, and I really want Property Tribes to join with you in spreading awareness of the importance of sustainability in the built environment. Well, let's talk about, this impending EPC regulations, which have got landlords kind of hot under the collar, because we don't actually know exactly when it's coming in or if it's going to come in, and that makes it very, very difficult for landlords to plan ahead. So what is your understanding of the current situation with regards to rental properties having to reach a C rating and or above in order to be allowed to be let out? Where are we at with that?
I mean, the government put out a proposal, as you said, that all rental properties have to have a minimum C by 2025. But that proposal was subject to a long consultation, and it's still sort of in that process. So although the initial consultation is finished, they're still sort of considering their position. So it is subject to change. Yes, it is subject to change as we speak. Yes, so that's not clear for landlords, and that's difficult because 3 years is not a very long time.
Well, that was going to be my next point, because as you say, actually 3 years, if the last few years are anything to go by, are going to go in a flash of, a blink of an eye. And landlords do need to be thinking about energy efficiency. One of the main reasons as well is because lenders are now starting to look at EPC ratings, when you're going for a remortgage or getting a mortgage initially. And, it's that landlords need to be aware of the status of their EPC ratings. And I've actually, discovered this myself recently, because I've just applied to remortgage what was a new build townhouse in 2006. And I was very surprised to refresh my memory about its EPC and find it was F. I thought it would be, because it was new build from a few years ago, that it would be a lot higher. So, you know, there's many different aspects to this that landlords need to be aware of. Now, let's say that landlords do want to embark on upgrading their property's energy efficiency. It doesn't necessarily have to be a really expensive thing. There are a few simple quick fixes you can do, and then there's some obviously more expensive options. Could you talk us through some of the upgrades that you found to be most effective from your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, the quick fixes are, I think, a good starting point. I actually had a long chat with my plumber about this on the weekend. Sat down for an hour.
You do?
He got quite excited talking about this subject. And on a Saturday. So he said that the number one starting point, I agree with him completely, is to have smart heating controls for heating hot water. You can have a physical unit in the property, a control unit with a timer, but you can also have a smart unit on your smartphone or your iPad, so you can do it from anywhere and just keep a handle on the times for everything, for heating hot water, days of the week, weekends, seasons. And that's a very good starting point. The other thing is that the way boilers are programmed is that when you turn on the shower or turn on a hot water tap, the hot water comes out immediately. And the way the boilers do that is that they keep burning gas all the time to keep the water hot, so that when you turn the shower on, it's immediately hot. But actually, that's an enormous waste of gas. When someone's going to shower, once a day or possibly twice a day. So it's usually called an eco mode. So you can actually turn that off on most boilers. So the hot water only comes on when someone actually turns the shower on, and it takes a few seconds to warm up. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that the nature of heating in a property is you have water going around metal radiators and metal pipework. Mm-hmm. And when water touches metal, it forms rust. Mm-hmm. And also the water in Britain is hard. It's got a lot of calcium in it, and that produces limescale. So over a period of years, what happens is that in the radiators and pipework in properties, they build up sludge. So when the heating's turned on, instead of actually heating up the radiators to make the rooms warm, it's actually heating up the sludge. So it's using up a hell of a lot more gas.
Sounds very inefficient, James, to heat up sludge.
Sounds very, very inefficient. Yes, exactly. It sounds very inefficient. So what a plumber can do is a plumber can remove all that sludge and put some chemicals in to stop it recurring. And then when you turn the heating on, it warms up in seconds. I've done that in all our properties, and literally within a few seconds, the whole thing is boiling hot. So use much less gas with the same amount of heat.
Well, that's really, really interesting. You mentioned smart thermostats. That would be applicable to HMOs, student accommodation, where bills are included. But as energy efficiency is rising up very much in tenants' awareness as well, if you did have a smart thermostat in your rental property where the tenant was responsible for the bills, they would probably really appreciate that, and it might help your property stand out from the crowd and attract tenants to it because it has that extra option to control the bills a little bit. So those are two good points right there. James, we often hear of somebody that's got exactly the same flat, two different flats in the same block, and one's got an E and one's got a C, and this creates kind of skepticism with landlords that how accurate are these EPC ratings if there can be such a difference between two identical apartments? Could it be down to the assessor on the day, or could there be other factors?
Yeah, I mean, there's several factors there. But first of all, it could be down to the assessor on the day if they were done by two different assessors. That's one factor. But also, it could also be down to how the heating, hot water and electricity is actually set up in each flat, whilst the flats might be the same. I mean, for example, some boilers, old boilers, are very inefficient. The new ones, a new combi A++. I was talking to my plumber about this again on the weekend. A combi A++ is going to be 20 to 25% more efficient than in a really old boiler. So 20 to 25% lower bills. Just having an A++ combi boiler will improve your EPC massively, massively. Just that one thing.
Well, that's very, very good to know. And obviously, a boiler is one of the more expensive upgrades. But, you know, we're talking about sustainability here. If you are going to replace a boiler, then you should make it the highest grade that you can to future-proof your property and improve the EPC rating at the same time. And of course, there's lots of options out there now where you can pay for boilers on a payment plan. We actually have a partner for that called Heatable, where you can order your boiler online and just pay for it over 2 years interest-free. So it doesn't have to be a massive capital outlay to replace a boiler. Now, sorry, did you want to add something?
I'm just saying that's a brilliant service. That's a brilliant service. Heatable, that's a fantastic service.
Yes, they're excellent. I've actually had a boiler from them in my own home, and also 2 boilers in other rental properties, and very, very pleased with the results. Now, we often hear of landlords that have properties that are non-standard construction, or they can't be upgraded for some reason. What sort of options are out there for them in terms of maybe grants or you know, other incentives to help them achieve a higher EPC rating?
Well, yes, I've seen lots of discussions about this on your forum, actually, about this subject. And the landlords were sort of thinking about wall insulation, because that's very expensive. I mean, we've done that in our property, and that is quite a lot of money. But there are some things which can be done, just putting the grants to one side for a sec. There are some things that can be done where you can upgrade the property, but actually is not going to cost an arm and a leg. It gets a little bit more tricky, I suppose, if it's a listed building. But if it's not listed, if it's in the conservation area or some other reason. I mean, 25% of heat is lost in a property through the roof as heat rises. So one thing that people can do is they can lay loft insulation, which just literally just lays in the loft. At least minimum of 27 centimeters, natural breathable materials, make a substantial reduction in the heating bills for any property that's got the loft. And the other thing is to draft proof the windows and draft proof the front and back door, because in our 100-year-old house, we have a 0.5 centimeter gap from the bottom of the door to the floor. So the heating was just, the central heating was just, just spewing out the front, under the front door. You can get some brush for £10 from, you know, B&Q or, you know, any DIY shop. Just lay it. I mean, it's not rocket science, but so that could be done. And the other thing is chimneys. A huge amount of cold air comes down a chimney into a property, so they can be blocked.
That's a good tip. And what about light bulbs, James?
Yeah, light bulbs. Yes, you can change all the light bulbs to LED. That will reduce your electricity lighting costs more than half.
Okay.
Yes. And one more thing, it's worth checking whether the landlord's property has 2 walls with a gap in the middle, and that's called cavity wall, because if it does, what it means is that you can actually put insulation between those 2 walls.
Yeah, that's one that is discussed, you know, a lot on the forums as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's really, really good tips and insights there, James. If landlords want to learn more about energy efficiency, which we both would recommend that they do gen up their knowledge on this topic, where are the best places to go, apart, of course, from Property Tribes?
Well, Property Tribes is of course the best place to go for that. But apart from Property Tribes, I mean, they could send us an email at james@jtannerproperties.co.uk, or they could send me a WhatsApp at 07836 555 100, and we're happy to give them more information.
Well, that's very kind of you. And I think you also mentioned to me, is it the Energy Efficiency Trust? Have they got some good resources?
Energy Saving Trust, yes, they've also got some very good resources.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's absolutely brilliant. So I think the moral of the story, James, is that this isn't, you know, a scenario where landlords can you know, put their head in the sand and just hope that it's not going to affect them. It is the direction of travel for government. It is going to come in some form. And as we said right at the start, there is, you know, the issue of sustainability, and that is another issue that landlords should be becoming more aware of to future-proof their rentals going forwards. Because of course, property is a very long-term investment, and it's better you know, to address these issues head on and find a really sustainable solution than to keep, you know, letting a problem kind of just tick along, because it generally can get worse if you allow that and cost more in the end to fix. So any closing thoughts?
And also, I mean, for HMO landlords or any landlord that's including the utility bills in their rents, as the energy bills are continuing to rise, it's just eating more and more into the profits of the landlords. That's one thing. And the other thing is that for tenants that are on a lower income, as utility bills are going to rise again in October, a lot of those tenants are going to be under pressure to pay the rent. So that really affects, so 90% of landlords are not, you know, don't pay the rent, don't pay the utility bills, but actually that's going to affect all landlords. Tenants are going to pay the rent because they can't afford to pay the rent. All landlords need to take, let alone the fact that the government have announced a climate emergency in this country, all landlords are going to be forced to take notice of this over the coming year.
Well, that's a very good point, because if they do, it may help their tenants' affordability to continue to pay the rent. So that's a very, very good positive point to end on. We know landlords hate putting their hands in their pockets, but this is something that they really do have to address. And I just wanted to thank you, James, for joining us on this call. Been very, very interesting. I've enjoyed it and I've learned some new things as well. So thanks for sharing your knowledge and your passion for EPCs.
Very much.
Thank you.